So I work at Lost My Name. Oh yeah, I've got the clicker. I can do this. Brilliant. So I work at Lost My Name. I thought quite long and hard about the theme of this conference before I started, as you'd be pleased to hear, which is about connecting inspiration with action. So my interpretation of that is not just kind of making things happen and launching them, but actually making them thrive, operationalizing them, making them an actual, making them a success, growing something over time. And I actually come from agency background, so I spent most of my career at agencies, telling clients what we think they should have done. And now I've been at Lost My Name for a year, a startup, one of the UK's fastest growing startups at the moment. And it's been a real baptism of fire. And the learning process that I've gone through has really reminded me of this cartoon. So this is how parents project parenting on social media. And this is the reality of it. There was another one that involved shit in hair, but I thought it was one step too far. But my biggest lesson of this transition is that the process of being at a startup, a very small company that had an idea and is trying to build operations around it, build infrastructure and make it actually work at scale, is really messy, is insane. It has moments of massive inefficiencies as you're trying to work out what the hell you're doing. And it really contrasts with the agency view that you can have when you're in a nice bubble and you snap off a nice brief and you say, oh, well, you should just do this. And then when they don't do it, you're like, oh, God, why don't they just do this thing? It's so simple. When you're on the other side of it, you realize all the pain and all the layers of infrastructural challenges and operations and politics and everything else as that business is sort of furiously growing. I'm going to tie in, as you can see, there's a bit of a theme to this. I'm going to tie in a sort of parenting thing to this because I think there's a lot of similarities between the startup world and parenting. But basically, that's the thing I want to sort of pepper through this. That, in fact, just very quickly talking about talks. So I've done quite a lot of talks in the past, and the nice luxury of being a speaker is you get to sort of go away and think over time and craft this beautiful narrative, and the slides all look good, and you tell this neat story in hindsight of how it all played out, and you're a genius. And it really masks the kind of chaos that actually happens. So you'll be pleased to know that this presentation is terrible, and I'm massively unprepared. But it's going to be real. I'm going to be representing what it's really about. So Lost My Name makes impossibly personal gifts. I'm going to just show you one. Just quick raise of hands who knows of Lost My Name or did before this. Cool, sort of 50-ish%. So we make our main product is personalized books. I'm just going to show you the actual click-through on the website so you can see how it works. The main book is called The Little Boy or Girl Who Lost Their Name. So you type in a child's name. That's my son, Oscar. You choose your character. You create a book. And then you have a little book where a little boy called Oscar wakes up. Well, he doesn't know he's called Oscar because he's lost his name. And he goes on an adventure, and he meets an ostrich who gives him an O. He meets a squid that gives him an S. He meets a chameleon that gives him a C. You get the idea. Really charming story. If you don't like one of the characters, you can change it. Don't want to tell my kid to eat ants. It's going to be an alligator instead. And you make a lovely little book. And they're very, very charming. They've done incredibly well. But that basically gives you a sense of what we do as a product. What's the next slide? That's quite a far cry from this. So this was the inspiration for the company. So this is what personalized books used to look like. And they've been going on for like a good 30, 40 years. Shove a photo, add their name, and hey, you've got a personalized book. But they're not great, let's be honest. So the founders, these are the founders. I actually used to work with Assi and David at Poke digital agency years ago. And that's Assi's business partner, Tal, and Pedro, the illustrator. Assi got one of those books for his daughter a few years ago, and he was like, he could see the potential of the idea, but then saw that result and was like, there has to be a better way to do this. So, I mean, it's a really great startup story. Like 4 people get together, they've got day jobs, but they're like, there must be a better way to do this. They come up with a lovely story that a child wakes up and they've lost their name. They go on an adventure. These are all the very original sketches. And this is the very first book that they kind of hacked together. No technology involved at this point, just stitching together images and sort of proving the concept. And when they saw this finished thing, the first one they did was actually for a boy called Andrew. They're like, there's something here. This is kind of something special. So again, true to the sort of world of startup, smacked up a very simple landing page that said, oh, here's a thing. Does anyone care? And fortunately, people did, and they got a really good response just by tweeting out to their network. That's the sort of second moment of validation that this is something quite special. So they made their first sort of 250 books for friends and friends of friends, massively manual process, but already recognizing that if they can do this for real, it's going to be a really big technical challenge. I didn't have time to put that video together, so just imagine it. It's very hard to tell that story in the time that I have, but all I'll say is the journey from that moment has been a really epic sort of challenge of operationalizing that very small idea. I mean, just to give you a sense of it, at the very beginning there, they were only making books for 25% of the possible names that there were. At that time in the UK, there was 15,000 names given to children in the last 5 years. So they had to sort of start small, and over the last couple of years, really building that up, adding new characters to cover off different name combinations, working through technical challenges, introducing diversity in the children, all these kinds of challenges behind the scenes that you wouldn't necessarily know about. And now it's like a massive success. We're actually the 3rd best-selling children's book in the US in the very first year that we were in the US. We were number 1 until the last few weeks of Christmas. That damn hungry caterpillar. 180 languages, 180 languages, that'd be good, and mixing it up. Lots of countries, you get the idea, you can read. And as recently as last week, we're on this list, apparently the first company to be on this list 2 years running. So it's a very exciting company to be at. When I joined a year ago, it's 30 people, we're 70 now, and it's kind of going a bit crazy. Interestingly, this company here was my last client at my old agency, just before I worked at Lost Names, just before making children's books. I was helping them to prototype tools for scientists to analyze molecules. That's interesting. Anyway, so all that is quite a sort of long way from what Asi, the CEO, described as a once-in-a-lifetime accident. Stumbling on something that was very, very special, getting that validation, and realizing they could make something of this. So this is now a very, very ambitious company, and the second book in the series was massively ambitious. So the first book was all about a child's name. The second book, we thought, what else is really, really important and sort of universal to children across the world, and it's their home and where they come from. So the Incredible Intergalactic Journey Home is a sort of adventure from space back to a child's home, but featuring their actual address. And I'll just quickly walk you through this. This is about a boy called Andy, that's me, living here at the Dame Theatre. So it's a journey through space. I'm flicking through it very, very quickly. Heading back to Earth, meeting lots of characters that help you along the way, heading back to the UK. There's Brighton, hooray! And there's the Dame Theatre. And ending up at your own front door, which doesn't appear in this particular video. Yes, it does. So that book launched at the end of last year, and we were like, we have to send this book to space. Come on, we're an ambitious company now. We've got to send this book to space. So we did. And this is Tim Peake reading the book and backflipping on the ISS. There's actually a company called Storytime from Space that sends children's books to space. So if the theme of my talk is about the challenges of operationalizing something, just start to imagine what it would take. Next year, you should get them to talk of how you partner with NASA to get a book into space. Check this out. This is an email from NASA, sort of running through the different I don't know really what it means, but running through the different things that are going on. Up here, you've got saliva and urine ops sleep log, and then story time at the bottom. So that's the actual location on the rocket of where the book was. If you are the brand manager for Ziploc, you'll be very pleased. Anyway, exciting news. We're actually relaunching that book. It's a massively ambitious company now that because we had such a big hit the first time round, it's like we wanted to actually redo that second book. So we're relaunching the Incredible Intergalactic Journey Home. I think next week on the 20th it launches. It's amazing. If you're thinking about buying it in the next few days, just wait a few days. I'll just give you a quick glimpse of it, but everything has been redone. The story is better. The graphics are beautiful. You see the child's name in stars as they fly through space. Yeah, you hurtle towards your home country, over your neighborhood with your signpost spinning, and back to your home address. And we've really sort of tried to dramatize how meaningful home is. The sort of messages that a child, there's no I should remember what the message is. There's no limits to how far you can go because you have somewhere safe to come back to. So at the moment, we have a book. We also have a personalized poster with a dedication. We've got a game that's coming out soon, which I'm representing via the medium of a gray rectangle. And very quickly, oh, good, I'm halfway through, it's perfect. So that's a very crude diagram to talk about what our year might look like. We're not going to sell hundreds of books to the same customer. Selling a couple of books and a poster at the moment. There's going to be a few purchase moments, and then this sort of dead space in the rest of the year. Opportunities. with big green arrows. So obviously we want to be present in people's lives there, and there's only so many times you can say, buy a book, buy a book, buy a book, buy a poster, buy a book. You can't say that really for like 9 months of the year. So we need more things. And this sort of maps out really how we're thinking about it in very simplistic terms, which is you're going to have more expensive products and less expensive products. Products you spend more time with and products that you don't spend much time with at all. And really, we want a nice kind of array of those products because it's likely that we'll get a lot more people loving what we do and wanting to spend money with us if we give them really fantastic free experiences, otherwise known as marketing. And it's that bottom bit there which is really my focus. So I run the editorial content team at Lost My Name, and it's really this layer at the bottom which is like continuously being true to what we stand for as a brand and what the products do, but giving people stuff every single day, every single week across the world, so they fall in love with us, love what we stand for, and over time want to buy from us more. One of the first things I did when I arrived at the company was work on a kind of our brand purpose, and this is it: give grown-ups creative superpowers to make magical, meaningful connections with a child. So creating things that make it really easy and super inspiring for grown-ups across the world to just do something very small but create something really amazing to bond with a child or have a special experience. So I'm going to show you a few of the pieces we've been working on. The first is called Blinkies. So you can find those now, not now, pay attention for a few minutes, but you can find those now-ish on YouTube. I'll just show you a few more pieces as well. This one doesn't have any sound, so we'll be awkwardly silent for a few seconds. We do magic tricks. What? If my creative team are watching this video, we need sound on these. It's a bit awkward. It actually works. We did it in like a wok. I was like, how far does this pepper go? It goes really far. You get the idea. Give me a boo. There's about 6 or 7 of these magic tricks on our blog at the moment. They're really good fun to do. Whoa, it works. It actually works. Yes. That's another one. Another thing we did was we created this thing called frog mail, where you can like make a kid feel like they're getting a pen pal letter from a frog. So we wrote these little letters from a frog in their neighborhood, and you can make them in little lily pad envelopes and like leave them on the doorstep and be like, Jessica, what's this? That's my son, and that's my son's arse in the form of an elephant print. I'm a terrible father. Oscar, come to Daddy's work. Oh no, it's just nothing, just playing. So what's next? Oh yeah, so anyway, so that's just a few examples, but just to give you a sense of what we're trying to do here. Obviously, the books that we're working on, like really super premium products, we're talking about like teams of 20 working for 9 months, like creating these really slick, incredible products. We make 2 of these things a week. So this is a very different situation. So in fact, we're just going to gear it up to 3 a week now. And it's all going on a platform that we just launched last week called Clever Ideas. It's just lostmyname.com/blog. There's a mermaid assessment form if you want to interview your son or daughter for the job of a mermaid. And if they get the job, they can give them business cards. There's a game called Dot versus Dot, which is like a sort of 2-player dot-to-dot game. Some sort of like a little recipe idea, an impossible banana, all kinds of things really. Did a fairy mail one. There's loads of stuff in there already. There's about 90 hours worth, I think we worked out. So that's my main focus at the moment, is building up this platform, which is essentially like lots of small ways into what we are as a brand. That's my son again. He's very happy in that shot. So I joined Lost My Name very similar time that I became a father, and you might tell from my T-shirt that it's not an insignificant point. And there are lots of similarities, I think, between what we're trying to do and what any young startup is doing in parenting, in the sense that you don't know what the hell you're doing and you're making it up as you go along. In fact, we did this as a sort of joke on Facebook about becoming a parent, which is very, very true. But also, I think it's quite true of the startup world as well. You have days where you're like, oh, this is the best thing. And the next day, you're like, oh, God, kill me. And also this Venn diagram, which I think, we're not putting the iPad down in front of him, sweetie. We're not going to be those parents. 10 minutes later, whatever works. But my point about that is when I was agency side, particularly at my last company, Made by Many, Made by Many is an amazing digital product innovation company and like really brutally efficient in terms of its processes. I mean, lots of people sling the word agile around. They're really, really good at it. But as they would admit themselves, they're quite expensive as well. So if you've got money, it's a brilliant way to go. If you don't want to spend money, it's very hard to like buy into that level of expertise. Like the platform that we launched last week, we just did everything wrong. It was massively inefficient, but the alternative was for it to not exist. Like, this picture from when the company started, this is what the founders had to do to make this project live. Like in their evenings while they weren't doing their day jobs, they had to like make these books by hand and just make it happen. Massively inefficient, but you have to go through that process before you can even see if you can start operationalizing something. And we're trying to do the same in our team. And I would argue that every discipline within our company is sort of a little mini startup within the startup, trying to like hack their way through that initial phase and then make it work and then operationalize it and then start to build in efficiencies. So, at my old company, there was this, I wouldn't necessarily use these exact words, but there was this sort of sense of doing less. Like, do only the thing you need to prove the thing before you move forward. But, the situation I'm in at the moment a lot of the time is not do less, it's spend less and do a hell of a lot more. It's like there's no money, there's no time, so you're just going to have the strategy of, that's our strategy sometimes. And if I think about what that process looks like as a sort of timeline at the business, I think it's kind of like this. I'm not a big fan of the word hack. It's one of those lazy words, but I think it's useful in this sense. There's that initial phase of just heavily manual, just try, because you're trying to do something new, so you don't know how you're supposed to do it. No one's going to tell you exactly how to do it because they haven't done it either. You're just going to charge into it, make mistakes, mess up. In hindsight, you're going to just roll your eyes and go, oh, God, I can't believe we did that. Then you start to hone it when it makes sense. The key two words that lost my name is operationalize, which I'm also not a big fan of 6-syllable words, but there you go, it's a useful one. Operationalize it, turn this sort of mess that you've created that seems to deliver value to people and try and operationalize that so you can actually start doing it every week without thinking so hard, without trying to reinvent the wheel, and then start to optimize it, create efficiencies so you can move on to something else and do it at scale. Don't know why that slide's there. Oh yeah, I remember. So there's one thing I didn't say before. So before I did this talk, I interviewed one of the founders just to kind of remind myself of the story at the beginning. And obviously loads of things went really right. It's a beautiful idea. They worked really hard. They got a lot of talent. But there's a couple of really key moments where it all could have gone wrong. The first one was they could not find a printer that could actually do it. When they were first talking to printers, the first 10 printers they talked to, there was no way they could make the books and without losing like 100% of the investment they put in. It just wasn't viable at all until they found one printer that just said, we love it. We love this and we want to be a part of it, so we'll find a way to make this work. And the same thing happened with bloggers. Lots of bloggers these days want you to pay them, annoyingly, to talk about stuff. And mummy bloggers at the time particularly were like, we love it. So I'm going to leave you with a sort of quite emotional point to prepare yourselves, which is, we can talk all day about operationalizing, we can talk about org design, we can talk about lots of really clever stuff for PowerPoint slides. When there are moments in that journey where it doesn't feel like it's going to happen or it's going to work out or it's just chaotic, the thing that can actually carry these things through is if you find an idea that people really love. And it's the same with parenting as well. When things are super difficult and really, really annoying, your kid's punching in your face and vomiting in your trousers, it's love that makes you not leave home and stick around. So I'd just like to leave you with that thought. Thank you.